127 in the English. Okay. Dogen also said, "Now if you wish to practice the way of the Buddhas and patriarchs, you should practice the way of the previous sages and emulate the conduct of the patriarchs with no expectation of profit, expect nothing, seek nothing, gain nothing. Even if you quit seeking and give up expectations of Buddhahood, if you stop practicing and continue engaging in your formal evil deeds, you will still be guilty of seeking and will fall back into the old nest. Without having the slightest expectation, maintain the prescribed manner of conduct. Think of acting to save and benefit living beings. Earnestly perform all good deeds and give up former evil ones. Do this solely for the sake of becoming the foundation of happiness for human and heavenly beings. Without stagnating in the good deeds of the present, continue practicing your whole lifetime. An ancient called this breaking the bottom of the lacquer pail. The way of the Buddhas and patriarchs is like this." And the 2 footnotes where he speaks about falling back into the old nest, the first one. The old nest is what we are always going back to, a kind of frame we are unable to get out of, that is, the tendency or system of values formed by our upbringing, experiences, and so on. It is the karmic or conditioned self. And as for the breaking the bottom of the lacquer pail, a container for lacquer, it is so black that you cannot distinguish between things. This is a metaphor for delusions, ignorance, and ego attachment. Breaking the lacquer pail means to get free from conditioned human sentiments. で、日本語のバージョンはエコさんお願いします。
とりあえず10だけです。
はい、そうです。お願いします。
また曰く、今、仏祖の道を行然と思わば、諸語もなく、諸具もなく、所得も直して、無理に戦勝の道を行じ、祖祖の安流を行ずべきなり、諸具を断じ、仏家を求むべからざればとて、修行をやめ、元の悪行にとどまらば、かえってこれ、元の諸具にとどまり、元の下級に出するなり、全く一分の諸語を存ぜずして、ただ人間の福分とならんとて、僧のいい義を守り、再度理想の安理を思い、修善を好み、修して元の悪を捨てて、今の善に滞らずして、一語行事もてゆかば、これを個人も他派出定というなり、仏祖の安理というは核のごとくなり。
I just want to say, firstly, that this is probably the first time I've ever given a talk that will go longer than 5 or 10 minutes. So if anybody kind of loses the track of what I'm saying, please chime in and let me know. So, and I hope as well that if anybody has anything they want to say, that they can just feel free to say that, and I'll stop. We're going to do 3 points today, so you can feel free to contribute after each one. それとリンコには多分日本語がちょっと足りないので申し訳ありません。So yeah, sorry, just mostly in English today. So in this passage that we have just read, I think that Dogen is warning us about falling into one of 2 extreme ways of practice, or 2 extreme views. So on one hand he's saying, you know, we shouldn't be seeking for gain or ownership over some kind of spiritual attainment. But at the same time, we're not just saying out to ourselves, oh, there's no need to practice for some reason, like, oh, because everything is already okay or everything has Buddha nature, so, you know, what's the use of practicing? And sort of giving up our practice. But rather than doing either of those things, completely committing ourselves to the way. And I like to think of these 2 extremes in terms of either saying like in our life we have like a big problem, like a problem. You know, life is problematic, I have suffering, so I should grab onto this problem and kind of fight with it until I come out winning. Sort of like cutting off all attachments and becoming like a Buddha or something. Versus the other extreme of saying, there's absolutely no problem, you know, there's no problems in life, everything is okay, so why worry about anything? And I think it's very tempting if we let go of one extreme to then go to the other extreme. For example, like if we accept that there's no final way to fix the problem of our life, there's no kind of final answer to suffering, it would be very nice to then at least be able to say to ourselves, well, you know, there's actually no need to face this discomfort of my issues because there's no problem anyway. But either way, I think, like whatever we believe, we would probably still be suffering, either from our struggle with the problem or the consequences that come with ignoring it and failing to work with our own conditioning or karma. I think it's a bit like we're sitting on a fence. This is a conversation that came up with Jisui-san after a 5-day session. So we're sitting on a fence, you know, sort of one of those fences with the kind of like fence posts that are sort of pointy, and it's sticking up our backside. And that's kind of like the reality of life. You know, we're on this fence, we feel a bit unstable, a bit uncomfortable because there's a fence up our ass. And so there's always an urge to kind of go like completely one way or the other way to find some kind of solidity or ground to stand on. And this sort of like struggling is kind of like the activity of our ego. So in this case, either like there's a problem so I can worry about it and fix it, or there's no problem so I don't have to worry about it. So we're trying to kind of struggle on this fence, but it's impossible to kind of get off the fence because actually the fence and us aren't really separate things. Like the fence is just kind of our life. It's the reality of our life. And it's because both of these sides are kind of like have some of their own truth. The only way to find that sort of middle way is to kind of sit right on the fence, even if it's kind of poking up our backside. And I think this is kind of maybe, feels like to me what happens in Zazen is that it's basically kind of getting comfortable with the fence sticking up your bum.